Good morning, guys. Welcome to another episode of Xa Talk Show. Today is September 29th, 2019, Sunday. And so, what's up, guys? What's the topic today? Let me go to the. Let me set up. 2019, September 29th. So, September, there are 30 days in September. And welcome to another episode of Xa Live Scream. So let me get the live YouTube set up. There we are. So George says, "Good morning, George." George says, "I'm surprised I didn't find a page on your website about Ted Nelson, Xanadu." Now he is a guy who invented kind of the HTML, like the before HTML, something like that. Let's see if I'm alive. Yes, yes. Right? Am I correct? So Bartholomew says 13 critique of OSS cloud solutions. Critique about OSS cloud solutions. What does OSS stand for? I don't think I know much about that topic. The only thing I know is I don't want cloud. Okay, no cloud. No cloud, no nothing. So Bartholomew, George, Xanadu. Oh. Okay, let's, Xanadu is like a ancient topic. I know that in 1990s. Oh, not that. Xanadu is a film, but it's let's see. What is the Xanadu and Ted Nelson? Yeah, you need to type the name Ted Nelson. So I think Project Xanadu. Yeah, that. Let's see what that is. Okay. Project Xanadu was the first hypertext project, yes, founded in 1960 by Ted Nelson. Administrators of Project Xanadu have declared it an improvement over the World Wide Web. With mission statement, today's popular software simulates paper. The World Wide Web, another imitation of paper, trivializes our original hypertext model with only one way ever breaking links and no management of versions or content. Yeah, I read about it, but I don't know much about it. It's like mystery. This is history. When you are not there, it's like total mystery to you. So this is 1960s. I didn't start to use a computer until 1989, and 1991 is my first computer. So, and I did study a lot computer history, mostly AI and Lisp. So back to 1980s basically. And I don't even, I mean, the history is such that if you are not around there, it's very hard for you to get any sense of it. So for example, today, if you guys don't know Solaris Unix systems, you would not, or this, you would not know. Well, it's like Linux, okay, but you don't get the idea, what's it's like in 1990s, the Pearl days, and so on. And similarly, I began in 1990s, but I've read about operating systems, Lisp machines, uh, several things. I read about it, but you can't really know much until you have to, unless you are dedicated to studying that subject. For example, let me show you history, keyboard history. So you see many of these old terminals and teletype machines. Cell's keyboard, for example, Cell keyboard. Cell stand for Stanford AI Lab, and C cell stand for something computer something. Okay, hold on a second. Let me close my door. My roommates. So anyway, Lisp machine keyboard. This is back in Lisp days. So this keyboard is this keyboard runs on PDP 10. 19. Okay, this keyboard is basically invented by John McCarthy, the same guy who invented Lisp. So there's a lot of interesting history about that, about Lisp machine keyboard. I did a video on Lisp machine keyboard. So anyway, this is the granddaddy of Lisp machine keyboards. Okay, this is even before the very famous Space Cadet keyboard. You see, you can read about them, but you don't know much. What is really like. What is PDP 11 computers are like. How do you use it? So yeah, I heard about Xanadu, but I read about it, but it doesn't make any sense. So who asked that? George. Typically this is kind of the thing that the hacker community and Lispers they sometimes they mention. Like when I was in comp.land.lisp news groups. Like today's people they don't know what the fuck is news groups, and and sometimes I run into like someone on YouTube. Okay, someone on YouTube mentioned uh, mentioned mentioned me, mentioned one of my website page. I forgot what page. Netquote anthropology, I think. Netquote anthropology. Okay, let me show you that page. Good morning, Hokensu. So I have this page. As I think there's a girl, okay, a woman on YouTube. She did a YouTube, and she mentioned one of my page. I think it's a Meow. There's a very popular page, the Meow Wars. Okay, let me show you. Meow Wars is supposed to be the greatest flame war on the in the history of internet. Okay, I don't know nothing about it, but I happen to read this story and I mirrored on my website from another website that's long time gone. So here is the Meow story. The one true history of Meow is supposed to be the biggest flame war and the army of trolls. This is in 1980s, I think. On this news group, Old Fan Car Maiden knows. Anyway, it's a very interesting story about trolling and flame war back in 1980s, I think. So so there is this girl who did a YouTube. I think she mentioned this article. I found it, and then she tried to describe what Usenet is. She didn't know. She's young, right? So she didn't know what use groups or Usenet is. So she tries to describe it, and she's it's very very funny to hear how she says it. She says, "Oh, it's like it's I think it's kind of like a Reddit forum and so on." So yeah, so if you are not there, it's hard to understand history. Okay, so let me read the comments and so Hexa and chat. Hexa and chat. Good morning, Matt. And George says, so George, I don't think you are very old, right? I think maybe you are 20 something or 30 something. I forgot how, if you ever mentioned that. Good morning, Justin. Good morning, Green Deck to Russia. Justin in Canada. Good morning, George in Sydney, Australia. No, not Sydney, Perth. Good morning, Pablo in Spain. So let's see. Xanadu critique of OSS cloud solutions. Yeah, what is OSS? Oh, open software, open source software, cloud solutions. What to say about that? You don't want cloud. If I'm gonna talk about that, it's gonna be a giant rant against open source again. Because open source, you have open source, that means people cannot make money, even though, technically, according to the Bible of open source, yes, you're supposed to be able to make money. It's just that it needs to be open source, or the free software, free speech, versus free beer. Supposedly you can sell your software, you can make money by editing. By the way, did you know that Richard Stallman used to sell Emacs? Like, you send me money, I send you a copy of Emacs. He is doing that, and it's allowed, by his according his free software, ideology. But the fact is, that's you cannot make money. That's just a lie. Like I mentioned before, the moment Linux is not free, as in free beer, the entire open source or free software foundation will die within like few months. It'll disappear. The concept will entirely disappear. The moment that you charge, let's say $10 for Emacs, or $50 for Linux, you'll entirely die. But the open source fanatics, they don't it's like when you are in a cult, or when you are in a political party, you don't see it. For example, the open source fanatics, when it comes to economics, when you talk about economics or things like that, they'll say, oh yeah, but you can make money, it's allowed, you can make money. But in reality, you can't, because it's open source. Other people will just copy it, sell it cheaper, and another guy will just copy it, sell cheaper. You cannot make money. That is why they went to the cloud, because cloud is a service. So that's why they take your data, or put your data in other people's computers, not your computer. So in my view, open source kind of helped the rise of the cloud. Okay, I'm going to start to get into a giant, huge rant about open source. So let's not go there. I did this many times. So Bartholomew says, you always say you think cloud open source solutions are stupid. Yes. Well, it's not stupid. Okay, it's like this. Cloud is kind of a inevitability. Okay, because when society, we are progressing, people want the convenience, such as, for example, let's talk about credit card or payment systems. That's one example. In sci-fi, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, in sci-fi, where in the future you go to Mars or whatever, you don't use paper money anymore, or you don't write checks, right? That's kind of stupid. I mean, as technology progresses, obviously it's all digital. um, so credit card is the father of that, in a sense. Credit card, you just swipe a card, you don't carry cash, because you carry cash, people will rob you, things like that. It's got problems. So it's all digital, because it's convenient. So cloud, in the same way, cloud, your phone, you store, you store your photos or whatever information on the cloud, and you can access it at work, at home, or if you travel. That's kind of, in a sense, that's inevitable, because it's convenience. That's what technology does. It brings convenience to you. So cloud is kind of inevitable. But however, it is the open source ideology, okay, the open source and free software fanatism, that give a big hand, a giant, huge help to the rise of the open source. I mean the cloud, okay? Because with open source you cannot make money. Like everyone, has the ideology. If you make anything not open source, they will they will punch you. Like many of you, open source fanatics, fuckheads. Okay, they will punch. They will do everything they can to destroy you. Like me. They call you a troll. They ban you. Things like that. Whenever you have any opinion that's not, you know, open source. This is like politics. People, and a lot of people, they are young people. They don't know. They just think, oh, open source is great for, help humanity. Share. Like communism. Okay, and today you have social justice. Okay, it's like that. A lot of young people, you cannot, it's almost like you are helpless because they are huge, and then there's evil corporations, those powerful, they indoctrinate people, things like that, yeah, so I would blame, a lot of it on, so I'm saying that open source and free software foundation, they quickened the rise of the cloud. Okay, not just that, they made it evil because of, you see, open source and free software foundation. The idea, the concept is not bad. Okay, it's great that we share. Okay, but it becomes bad when it becomes a ideology, where when you have any opinions that's not like that, people don't like you. It's become like that. So I'm not, I ranted about open source in so many of my videos, so let's not do that today. It only makes sense that people running the servers, not the customer. So cloud, I'm saying, is kind of inevitable. Okay, so I'm saying, in my point of view, cloud is somewhat inevitable. And I'm saying that open source, it is the open source and free software fanaticism. Okay, remember, it's important, fanaticism. If there's no fanaticism, then it's good, because this kind of things, there's no, like, we don't know the answer. We don't know, should, commercialization, proprietary software, is that system better, or is it open source better? We don't actually, there's no one answer to that, to the whole society, because it's very complex. So it would be great that, some people advocate, some people, some part of the world, or some, it would be great that they coexist. Okay, but what I'm saying is that the open source and free software foundation, they has become a ideology, like brainless ideology. People just chant it and follow it. Like, kind of like US, the word democracy. Like, for example, I know most of you guys are not against the social justice, right? And many the news medias are run by social justice people, American left. So, for example, let's go to Washington, Washington Post. Okay, we go to Washington Post. Washington Post is one of the major publications. Now you see that, you see that you see that it says democracy dies in darkness. Why do they say that? Of course, they are saying that, they are directing that at Trump, the current president of USA. And to most of you, I know you don't like it, because it's totally just a lie. It's just a lie. Fucking subscription. I want to go back. You cannot even go back. You see how the fucking this you cannot even go back. Like, I click go back, it refused to let you go back. Fuck open source. And as I mentioned before in my other videos, the social justice today is in part because of open source. Because the fundamental idea is the help. The obsession about helping. You just need to help. Like share and help others. This has become twisted. So anyway, you see that democracy dies in darkness. Half of American people will not agree. What the fuck? What do you mean? Basically, they are meaning as I do. What they mean is that they don't Trump. We voted Trump as the president. That's democracy. But they are saying democracy dies in darkness. And same thing with New York Times, the number one publication in USA and around the world. That's no good. So why am I mentioning this? Because I'm saying, it's like the word democracy. It becomes a chant. People don't know what it means anymore. You can simply say democracy dies in darkness when you don't like the current president. So in the same way, I'm saying this is happening. The democracy becomes a just a chant word. It lost meaning. Same thing with open source and free software foundation. People don't know, this massive number of fanatics, young people. They don't know what it means. Like, but they just know it's good. They must have open source and free software. Green Deck says, how does it connect to Trump? Yeah, well, Green Deck, you are in Russia, so you don't know. Well, that's my guess, because in U.S. politics, you have the Democratic Party, okay, the so-called Democratic Party. That's left, USA left. Then you have the right wing, which is Republican Party, okay, and they are fighting. They are fighting. It becomes worse and worse. So basically, and Washington Post. Most of the major news media are run by the leftists, by the Democratic Party, okay, in USA. So Washington Post, New York Times, uh, so they say, why do they say democracy dies in darkness? Because it's kind of it's there because they mean Trump. They hate Trump. They think Trump is a Hitler. So they just put that phrase there. We in USA, we know what it means. A lot of people. Um, so that's what it means. And you are in Russia, right? Let me ask you: have you heard that in USA? I don't know if you heard. Every day the leftists, okay, like the Washington Post, every day they are saying Russian is meddling with USA. Russian elected Trump. Yeah, they say you guys, Putin, you guys infiltrated. You guys, the Russian made Trump the president. That's what they are saying. Today, everywhere. I don't know if you heard of that, or not. Um, so let us know what you think. Oh, okay, so you don't know, yeah. So anyway, so let me check the comments. George is 31. Okay, we like to hear rants. Okay, yeah, I did too many of that, a lot. I choose number 10. How compiler works. Hokensu. So Hokensu, about 3 days ago. Xa Talk Show. Xa Talk Show 3 days ago. How compiler works. So this is on September 24th. I did a video on that, and it's pretty bad, because I wasn't able to give a good tutorial. So yeah. Um, Justin says, I contribute to open source, but I don't expect ever to make a penny. Yeah. George says, I found out today Richard Stallman is still in charge of the GNU project. No longer, no. I think I read yesterday, he says, No, he's no longer in charge of the GNU project because he just posted in his blog that he's effective immediately. He's no longer, he's out of the GNU project. Stallman, Richard Stallman, okay. Richard Stallman blog, okay, let's see. Yeah, he said that. Richard Stallman personal page. Let's search for GNU. And you see, wait, where? Okay. Um, somewhere here. I just read today or yesterday. You have to go to political notes. Okay. Magnify. Search for GNU. Wait, where is it? I don't know. I think I'm pretty sure I read it like today or yesterday. I mean, well, 10 hours ago, 20 hours ago. He says that he's no longer running GNU as well. So he's no longer associated with MIT. He's no longer the president of Free Software Foundation, and he's no longer running GNU, the head of GNU. It's somewhere here. He is, he is just out of touch on everything. I would say, including politics. He's just completely he become like I showed you this article. I showed this in my video before. I talked about it. I think actually I talked about yesterday even. He's looking for a room. So there is this magazine. Okay, this magazine. I mean, this article studies what happens to um, commune. What happens to commune groups? Okay, hold on a second. Why utopian communities fail. Now, utopian, there are several utopian communities who are thinking, in this community, we will not have hierarchy, everyone is equal, everyone makes exactly the same amount of money, everyone, there's no leader, okay, nobody is, higher than others. There are communities like that, for example, hippies, some of the hippies groups, and such communities typically you have a leader, and many of these communities believes in green, no factories, they believe they grow their own stuff, things like that. And this guy, Evan Morrison, go study these groups, visit them, see what actually happens. It's pretty uh, the picture doesn't look very good, it's pretty bad. So typically in these utopian communities, you have a leader, the founder, just like Richard Stallman. Actually, Richard Stallman is exactly one of such people, and typically he is the one who makes all the money. He makes the most. Like, you know, however, because in such communities you cannot talk about money. Like you cannot talk about, oh, I work harder so I make more than you. You cannot talk about that because everyone is equal. The equal outcome, the idea of equal outcome, like today's social justice. So you cannot talk about that. But however, you create a lot of problems. So the problems becomes like basically a struggle, political struggle. Like, what can I do so that I kick you out, or I get more than you, things like that. except the leader, like Richard Stallman. So Richard Stallman, for the past 20 years, he just sit there, he just preach his ideology, and he makes money. He don't have to worry about a living. Not like you or me. I do open source, I get more no money and I die. Okay, but he is different because he don't have to worry about that. He haven't been coding for at least 10 years. I would say probably 20 years. He have not coded. He don't know. I mean, he's asking. Yeah, I talked about this a few times. He like completely out of loop. He don't know what coding is like. Even 10 years ago, he haven't coded. But however, he's giving opinions. So anyway, in the past 20 years, he just seen the songs of free software go around, preach, give lectures, and also, let me show you my, you go. So I wrote this summary of what happened about Richard Stallman resigned from Free Software Foundation. Here is another article. Um, Richard Stallman speech requirement. Okay, two articles on my Emacs website. So this article, I summarize what happens. Richard Stallman resigned from Free Software Foundation, 2019, September 16th. Okay, so this collection of what happened, and screenshots, and who are trying to kick him out, and all the screenshot as a record. What Richard Stallman said. He said he resigned and things like that. And after resign, what did Red Hat says? What did Stephen Levy says? Stephen Levy is a fuckhead. He's a sold out. He is a kind of a tech journalist for a long time. Since 1980s. He write. I read a lot of Lisp history, or software history in the 1980s from him. He's one of the old journalists, and now he just sold out. Thomas Bunchel, he's a guy who wrote GNU Herd, the operating system. He began it for like 10 years in 1990s. Then he got kicked out by Richard Stallman, and he also wrote a commentary about Richard Stallman being kicked out. So I don't think he's good. So anyway, so I have this collection of articles and who support him. It's here. So anyway, that's one article. Then in the process, in my so-called research, I also found this article. This is the title is Richard Stallman's speech requirement. Since around 1998, when the open source become popular due to Linux, Apache, and Perl. Okay, due to these three mostly. When open and also Netscape. Netscape is the first one that released browser, the commercial entity that released their software as open source. Okay, so in this article, this is written by Richard Stallman. It's very long. It's like 7,000 words. Okay, 7,000 words. This article, he describes his requirement. Like if you want him to give a speech, he discussed, what you need to do, like what, like the process. 7,000 words. And the closer to the bottom of the article, it becomes crazier and crazier. So it turns out, when he's giving a talk, of course, you have to pay him. At least you have to pay the airplane tickets, the hotel, or whatever, the travel fees, and also you don't pay. He specifically requests that you don't pay to the Free Software Foundation. Okay, you pay. You write them. You pay him, Richard Stallman, directly. So I read this, yeah, and then I realized that's kind of nasty. That's kind of nasty. That's how he makes the money. So he's so he becomes like we were talking about these where's the article? We were talking about let me go to the article, okay? Utopian communities, okay? We were talking about this article where this you have these cult-like communities, and typically, almost always, they have one founder, one leader, one the top guy. Other than him, everyone else is supposed to be, well, it's supposed to be everyone is equal, but actually not so. You got this boss, usually who lives in comfort, and everyone just bow to him. Like today, we have this situation today. Like everyone, you talk to people on Reddit, or you see people, Richard Stallman is a god. They will, like, every time you have some negative opinions, then you will have like an army of people defending Richard Stallman. Typically, young people, they don't know. Like, they don't know. All they know is that, Richard Stallman is a guy. It's like a legend. Okay, we got a god. He's a god. You cannot attack him. You are wrong. Because yeah. So that's what ideology means. Ideology. That's what it means. You have these. You have this group of people like communism. All the people believe it. So Richard Stallman, he give talk. It's nasty. He give talks, and you know, the it's not. He requests. He make it. He made it in writing that you pay him, not the Free Software Foundation. That's kind of nasty. Okay, so that's so you learn how that's how he make money. And uh, you know, and the it's like that because he's this god kind of thing, creature. So anyway, that's about that. Anything else? Put comments to me, okay, and I can address it. So Green Deck from Russia says we laugh at it most of the time, but we definitely like Trump more. Okay, that's about Russian collusion. Russian elected Trump. Okay, so let's see what else. Let's see how long I've been talking. 37 minutes, 10 people watching. Okay. So if you have questions, put it to me, okay? Uh, yeah, I don't think Richard Stallman is in charge of GNU. Check his blog because I'm pretty sure I read it. Yeah, I just cannot find it right now. On his blog somewhere. Okay, somewhere here you'll see it. So anyway, so Matt says, so do people really base their decisions on using GNU software on RMS and the recent happenings? Uh, yeah, yes. Pablo says the messages were retired today. Oh, really? So Justin says, probably they will, we allowed to denounce him and until use all his work. Yeah, that's the easiest route. Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, that's what we like to call the in U.S. the right wing like to call the left people. Uh, the comment were a few days ago, but not anymore. So the comments were very suspicious because they were repeated over several days without change. Oh, so Pablo says Pablo says, so Richard Stallman is still head of GNU. I mean, still leading the GNU project. I got a tip from Meowcat, one of my follow a friend, who says that Richard Stallman website has been hacked, but I didn't find any evidence. Possibly because by the time I checked, it's already fixed. So Matt says it might be unsafe to bring up this topic, but what's your thoughts on the whole climate change? Oh yeah, climate change. I don't really know much details about that. Yeah, let me tell you. So what my experience about that, my thoughts. So I came to USA in 1989. Arrived in California. Okay, from Montreal. So I was in Montreal and Vancouver. I was in Vancouver for half a year, but most of the time in Montreal, Canada. So this is between 1986 to 1989. Okay, so I lived in Canada for like 3 years, mostly in Montreal. I was about 16, around 16 to 19 in Montreal. So I came to USA in 1989 in California, and since then basically all my life. Now I'm 50, so for the past 30 years, 40 years, well, 30 years, I lived in California. Now California is a very lefty state. The Democrat Party. Or basically it's a very progressive. The Democratic Party. So all my adult life, so basically I'm exposed to all the democratic views, and basically I'm almost, you can say, pro-democratic. I'm inclined, my views are inclined towards the left. For example, things like green. Okay, green planet. We global warming, we need to fix. We want green, we don't want pollution, we want to recycle. I'm so much into recycle. It's phonetics. So I believed all that. Recycle, and for freedom of women, feminism, and for equality, all that. All my life. But it began. You see, I changed in beginning in 2016, when the social justice scan, when they rose. And the Democratic Party or American left, they changed entirely around 2016. Okay, they started to have things like safe space, and all kind of this LGBTQ and all kind of weird stuff. And they started to they just lie and they beat people, things like that. So they are entirely different today. So anyway, so what about climate change? So all these years, basically almost 30 years before, I believe in global, I believe in green planet. So I'm very much for solar panels, the renewable energy system. And also I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in God. So back in 1990s and throughout 2000s, USA is mostly ruled by, it's heavily a God believing country. Like in God we trust. And in money, if I can show you a coin, yeah, let me show you a US coin. So here is $1 bill, and can you see, in God we trust? Right here, in God we trust. Okay, and here is a quarter. Let's see, you get old, you cannot see. There's also in God we trust. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, this camera This Logitech camera is very bad. You cannot see it. So anyway, so I'm not I'm not Christian or Catholic. I'm not a God believer. So I don't believe, I'm pretty much a agnostic. So I don't believe in religion. So this kind of things very annoys me. These kind of things. And so basically, what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to tell you, all my life, I'm rather inclined towards the left ideas. The Democratic Party. I'm not. I'm rather. I'm more so a libertarian. I believe individual freedom the most. Okay, I want freedom for each person. I want small government. Okay, and most of the time throughout 1990s and year 2000s, up to 2010 or so, U.S. The American left, the Democratic Party, is compatible with libertarianism. Individual freedom. We don't want big governments. We don't want war. We don't want war. But now it's all entirely changed. Okay, so what I'm saying, back to the climate. So I was very much worried about, for example, whenever they, for example, throughout 1990s, I watch PBS. Many of the PBS station, PBS. Okay, let me show you what that is. Public Broadcasting Station service. Okay, this logo, PBS. Then okay, this is a nonprofit organization in USA. Okay, so they publish videos and documentary about global warming, about space exploration, about science, about history. Kind of like educational channel, PBS. And there's also, so for example, back in 1990s, every day I go to the library every day. Okay, yeah, basically every day. I borrow, the videos, history channels, and all that. So I watch tons of them about the ocean, dolphins, whales, all kind of creatures in the ocean. Today you can watch them on YouTube. There's a lot. For example, look at this one. Octopus. Something like that. So I'm very much, progressive. So about, global warming, I'm very much into recycling and, clean energy and all that. And I believed it. That's the thing. I believed. I believed it. But now it's all changed since 2016. Since 2016, I started to see, all the social justice. The rise of all these crazy social justice fucks. Then I started to look into. I started to look into the. I started to. Because these social justice, their ideas, they are just crazy. Okay, they are just bad. They are just clearly bad. And they are saying women are there's no difference between men and women. Okay, it's a fucking you know it's it's a fucking complete lie. Okay, in every way. They got lots of problems. On one hand, they say there's no this is what they say. Okay, there's no biological difference between men and women. No biological difference. Then they also say there's no sex at all. I mean, they are like 10 sex. You have men, women, you have trans, you have non-binary, then you have queer, then you have dinosaurs, then you have dragons, you have, you know, you have all that now. So then they say, okay, so it's a complete mess. It's the today's left. The social justice, the extreme left. Okay, they become. They just say whatever. They say whatever. If you disagree, they're gonna beat you up. That's what they do. So this began around 2016. Actually, it began earlier. 2016 is when there's a presidential election. Then in 2017, Trump got elected in 2016. So anyway, around 2016, beginning I would say 2010, let's say 2010, the social justice rose. Then you started to see all these weird things. Then they're talking about safe space, hate speech, free speech. They want to ban speech, things like that. They do violence. They burn, buildings, not buildings. They burn cars and stuff. So this is all like a shock. And so you started to naturally you started to read things, look at who are these people, why are they here. So today on the issue of global warming, I'm not sure anymore. It's like before, okay, before 2016, I'm pretty sure. Whenever there's a vote, for example, I would say, yeah, I want, I would vote for something that will fix global warming. It's important. Today it's like no, I'm not sure about that. Well, yeah, it's. I think it should be important, but I'm not sure. That's the thing. And also, okay, so about global warming, my opinion today is that I'm not really sure I'm not really sure what is true. Okay, because there's a lot of lies going around, and I've seen people, who are professors, who I really respect, but he's like, he's got the Trump, syndrome. Like he just say anything hateful about Trump, and he's one big global warming guy. You know, uh, he thinks that's critical. Okay, so he thinks that's critical, and he's a mathematician I respect. But however, then when he mentioned Trump stuff, I looked into that's just totally bullshit. That's not true. And also, he's in this group where they say the patriarchy, the patriarchy, like all men are evil. So he's like he doesn't really actually say them, but it seems implicitly he's supporting the social justice kind of people. So when you see he does that, when you see he does that, then you are not sure anymore. Go fuck yourself with your global warming. Go fuck yourself. So in other words, he's having, when it comes to politics, he's having the opposite effect on me. He wants people to believe that global warming is really critical. I can believe it, because it's something if you fix it too late, then it's too late. You have to fix it. And rationally, I believe that's what I believe too. But meanwhile, he's implicitly supporting this patriarchy thing, this man equals to women, this kind of thing. then, then I don't want to believe him anymore. That's the thing. So on global warming, I'm not sure what exactly is the situation. Okay, I don't know. On the other hand, but what I know for sure, recycling. Okay, recycling. That we have been lied to for the past 20 or 30 years. Recycling. That's a lie. That's actually, recycling is just a lie. Um, if you want to look into, there are a lot of YouTube videos. For example, recycling. Let me tell you this. We recycle in USA, right? And what we do, we think, things, goes to recycling center, and they do recycle and they make new things with it. That's not true. Actually, the USA and Canada, Justin, right? I tweeted about that. I mean, you agree, right? So we actually we ship we as citizens we recycle things, but actually all these companies, they put them in a truck, they ship it to China, ship it to Philippines. So you got this huge amount of garbage sent to China and Philippines, and let them deal with it. And in the past few years, China refused. Okay, They are not taking your recycled garbage anymore. Philippines, they refuse. So now you got a problem. There are, YouTube videos you can watch, published by CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I think I've seen it. For example, let's go to YouTube. So recycle turned out it's a lie. It's a huge lie. Why do government lie about it? Why do American government lie? Uh, because they benefit. They can make tax money or something like that. I forgot what's exactly the details. But you go to YouTube and you follow mainstream channels. This is not even conspiracy. You go to you search for recycle. Okay, recycling. Okay, uh, and for example, maybe this one I'm not sure I trust this one. Now this company now this is kind of leftist, and Vox is also extreme leftist. Recycling is a scam. Okay, I don't know who is this guy, but you might check out that. But basically, if you try to watch a few videos, you see Philippines or South Asia or whatever country I forgot. Let's see, recycling. Uh, let's say China. Uh, basically, many countries they don't take your the recycled stuff sent to them anymore. So you got then that becomes a problem because now you cannot throw them away to ship it to China. So anyway, there's also by this guy I trust, who is a couple of guys who do shows like magic shows. Uh, what's the one tall guy and one short guy. The short guy almost never talks. Uh, what's their name? Anyway, they did a show. Penn and Teller, yes, exactly. Penn and Teller, yes. So they did an episode on recycling. Watch them. They expose all the lies. Yeah. Now I remember. Yeah, Penn and Teller. Okay, let's just search for their video. I watched the video. Penn and Teller, Tller. Okay, recycling. Yeah, so there are some clips, but there's I remember the full show is also on YouTube. They pirated on YouTube. But anyway, so you can watch. So it's a lie. They exposed it. Yeah. So so in the past 20 years, I didn't know until this social justice gun rose up. Then I started to learn. I started to learn a lot of things about how the Democratic Party, you know, they they are always for women, for the blacks, for the minority, and so on. And one of the reason, very possible reason, plausible reason is that they are also for immigration, for the immigrants, for the poor, and so on. One of the reason is vote. They get all your black people to vote for them. Actually, they are the doing bad. So I learned a lot of things. And one of the things about recycling is just a huge. It's just a lie. So in the past 20 years, I didn't know. I was like, I was for recycling. Yeah, we need to recycle. Oh my God, we need to recycle. Help the earth. Look at the ocean. All the turtles and whales. They are dead because of plastics. That is actually true. I mean, but you see, the thing is, when something is true, how you report it, you can, add color. That's today's news. They are all twisted. They are twisted because that way they can make more money. They can benefit this government group or that corporation. Um, yeah. So there's a lot. In modern society, if you are a normal people I mean, I haven't been watching TV since 19 since year 2000. Okay, but even so, you still get brainwashed because everything you hear, you know, it's almost like anything, everything you can start to doubt. Then you start to do research on anything, any of your beliefs. Then you start to do research, and you'll find it's likely that you'll find it's what you believed is just not true. Yeah, one in the past few years I learned that that's almost true. Almost It's almost like for everything, like anything you believe. Like you might try to do it. Think of something you really, you don't even think about it, but then you try to actually to look for the truth. Try to research. Then you will find a lot of things you don't know, and possibly you'll change your mind. You'll just change your mind. Almost about anything about history and stuff. Okay, so I hope I'm not rambling too much. I've been talking for 1 hour. Uh, so yeah, that's about that recycling about climate change. And I noticed recently, it seems, um, what's your country, Matt? It seems they stopped using the word global warming. Instead, they say climate change. Is that true? I mean, what's the deal about that? Like, I just noticed there seems to be something going on within the past 1 month or two. It looks like there's a trend to not use the word global warming anymore. Instead they say climate change. I'm not sure what's going on. Uh, oh, Matt is from Germany. Okay. Uh, So Justin says in Canada is a big topic because we have a lot of natural resources, logging, oil, and there has to be a balance between jobs and economy, and not changing the climate. But a lot of people are dumb and scream about the world ending in 10 years. Uh, George says, I feel sorry about the Swedish girl. Yeah, that's Swedish girl. That's appalling. There's a video actually I should show you. You guys should watch that video. Twitter. That's what. So I learned. Like I was a progressive, but now I learned things are entirely different. Okay, not not what I used to believe. So there is a video that shows that even 20 years ago, the environmentalist, the political group, for political reasons, they have another girl who is actually, I learned later on, who is the daughter of David Suzuki. Now, David Suzuki, actually, I know him because I think in Canada, I used to watch his show. He's a science show, a science popularizer, David Suzuki. So it turns out it's his daughter. So anyway, back in 1990s. So okay, so they have a girl just like today. That girl, that Greg something, go on to UN and give a speech like 12 years old girl and say how environment is important and stuff. It's all just a lie. It's a you especially girls. Whenever it's typically they take girls to do that because girls has the power. They attract our attention. Let me show you that video. Okay, then you can just this one. Okay, this one. Let me open the URL so you guys can go watch it. Okay, so this girl, I later on I did some research after I watched this. And I started to look up who is she. She turns out to be the daughter of David Suzuki. By the way, Justin, do you know David Suzuki? Have you ever watched him? So this is back in like 1992. She's talking almost like the same style, like the current Greta thing. You know, and this Greta girl, she's got psychological problems. She's like anyway. Longer than a month because in some places it actually gets colder. What do you mean? Okay, so anything else? I think maybe we stop in 5 minutes. So Pablo says my doctor says that if I don't answer Sali rants on free software, then I'm cured. About what? Then you are cured of fanatism or okay, Pablo says, if you want a real fight, I can invite you and RMS to my house for a session. We can stream it. Don't worry, we have universal health care here. In Spain? Oh, that's great. Uh, Richard Stallman, what am I gonna fight with him? I don't, I'm pretty sad, he got kicked out for he got kicked out wrongly. I'm certainly for Richard Stallman, but however, meanwhile, in the past 20 years, I don't think he's doing good. He's so I'm finding it. I'm not so enthusiastic to fight for him. But I don't have money, so anyway. Okay, so maybe that's about it today. I think. Uh, So attached Tesh, good morning to Chile. Chile. Attached Tesh says there is a strong movement trying to modify the Free Software Foundation from inside. Like what? Like I don't trust. I don't think we can trust Free Software Foundation anymore. Doesn't matter what happens. I don't think we can trust it. Yeah. So uh, Coraline Ada, yeah, she is a very extreme evil guy. They want to create a new license. They want a license so that they can say who is not allowed to use their license. Evil. It's like these social justice people. I can tell you what they are basically. They are almost like a militant military group. Okay, their philosophy, everything they do, is exactly designed to be a cult and to expand themselves to get themselves more and more power. Exactly, because I study cults, I study Scientology. Scientology, their rules and their philosophy. I talked about this, in my videos. They have a they have ways, disciplines, they have rules. How should one behave? And many other code organizations I've studied, they have like rules what you can do or cannot do, or how should one respond, how should one behave. They control your thoughts. So anyway, I studied their philosophy, what you can do, what you cannot do, what you should do, things like that. They are just like the social justice group. They are just like that. Okay, it's almost like every of their tenet is designed. It's specifically designed so that their group, their cult will become more powerful and more powerful, and their rules, their way of to do how to do things is to eliminate their enemies. Okay, for example, among the social justice, one thing they often say is that you have to do something. Okay, that's like they tell their friends or people, may it be feminism related issues or about choice, versus uh, pro-choice or pro-life, or about any of these controversial topics about anything. They have a chant. They have a like rule. Like you have to do something. It's not okay. It's not okay just to talk about it. Like you have to. They tell their friends, like you have to do things. You have to actively do something about it. If you do not, then you are the enemy. That's what their philosophy. Okay, so for example about Richard Stallman, the way they kicked out Richard Stallman, you can read, before he's kicked out, the day that girl wrote that blog, there are many, all the social justice warriors on Twitter are responding to it. Okay, so one of their, they actively name the Free Software Foundation board, the board of trustees, the organization, something like that. They actively picked out those names, like Twitter. If they are on Twitter, they tag them, and they say, you should make a choice. They tell them that you need to make a choice, things like that. So what I'm saying is that, so these social justice GAN people, they have their philosophy or rules or tenets or mantra or things like that. It's specifically designed in almost in every way, so that they grow and they eliminate, they kill off their enemies. For example, one way they grow is to, they always, they say, you have to, it's not okay, you are just be yourself. It's not okay. You have to actually do something. If you don't do something, you are considered an enemy. Okay, now that is one way they grow, because now if there is some issue, controversial issue, for example, if I don't have an opinion, if I cannot just say, oh yeah, I support, I cannot just be neutral, nor can I simply say, oh, I support, social justice, I support women. That's not totally okay. You have to do something. They want me, for example, they want me to actively start to do something. Then they can accept me. Otherwise, I'm still an enemy. You see. So now now if I read that, oh, it becomes, I have to make a choice. That either be them, be part of them, or become the enemy, because otherwise they're gonna attack me. So that's what they do. That's one of the, that's one of the way to grow a cult. You can see this in Scientology, in Falun Gong, in other cults. It's one of my thing to study cults. You can see similar kind of rules and tactics on the members. So in my opinion, okay, they are kind of like criminal. Now, okay, welcome back, Bartholomew. I'm pretty much done for today. So yeah, so that's what I think about social justice people, the social justice warriors. Now, I know some of my friends, white people, okay, typically white people, they are, they have money, they live in comfort. A lot of the Emacs people I know, some of them is they still follow me. Okay, so but I kind of can tell that they are anti-Trump. Okay, they are kind of the social justice group of people. Many of them, they don't explicitly say it. They don't say it. Uh, it's kind of a problem. Okay, it's kind of like, you have your friends. We all have our friends and family, but then civil war is on the brink of starting a civil war. And when civil war happens, you have no choice. You're gonna be one side or not. You're gonna stab a knife into each other. into your family members, into your friends. You have no choice when civil war, when it really breaks up. So what I'm feeling is that, so I have these acquaintances, and they are kind of like, so far it's still okay. There's but it's already pretty bad. This this my some of my white acquaintances in the Emacs community, for example. Some of them, I see them sometimes tweet out things against Trump, and I feel like I want to tell them, stop that. Stop that, because that's not true. I want to show them, oh, you should maybe try read this article instead. But I'm not sure, because this is very controversial. This is a serious problem. It's getting very serious. And yeah, it's hard to say what can one do. Okay. And you don't know exactly what's their intentions. Your friends, among your friends or acquaintances, you don't know exactly what's their intentions. Maybe they are extremely pro social justice, extreme. Like, if once they know, they are ready to hit, beat you up. Possibly there's that possibility. But meanwhile, they don't quite say it yet. They are not still too public. Maybe that's like that. Maybe you don't know. You have no idea. But maybe they are kind of in the middle. They are really not sure what's going on. They are not sure. They are not sure. You know, or maybe they. I think they are all good people, but maybe they are. They don't know the fact yet. They don't know. They just don't know, because today all the news media are leftist news media. New York Times and Washington Post, for example, this one, democracy dies in darkness. Such a chantable phrase. That's kind of like propaganda. If you are not sure, you believe it. Oh yeah, democracy dies in darkness. Look at Um, so anyway, they read these articles every day. They don't know what is actually true. So so you don't know what's your acquaintances or your friends, where what's their situation. So it's a problematic. It's a problem when civil war breaks out, or not. Let's not be dramatic. Things are bad enough today. USA. I see USA is like stagnating. There's not much progress. I mean, if you like look at China, most Americans don't know. If you look at China, the cities, the trains, they are much better. Even 10 years ago, it's on YouTube. Okay, if you really try to look at it, all the cities and trains, all it's much uh, better than USA. So I feel like USA might be stagnating, and I kind of worry. What's going on? What will happen? Anyway, so that's it for today. So today is about talking about politics, global warming, and stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Um, I'll see you guys. So next week, I think next week, tentatively, probably around same time, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. It's breaking my back. It's disrupting my sleeping schedule. See you guys.